What I'm going to start to do now is to break apart the drum set and to create a groove for you to make sense of this on the drums. Really quick though, I want to go back to, if you started playing the drums, you most likely started playing rock. Clearly hear that the drums are the loudest part. So I'm going to invite you to hear this word. It's called feathering the bass drum. And feathering the bass drum means I'm going to be playing the bass drum, but really softly. So if you think about stick technique, I have 4 main strokes. Full stroke, down, tap, and then up. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm creating a tap with my foot using the tips of my toes to create a definitive stroke with very little motion. That's something that we want to achieve because in jazz, one of the goals that we want to get to is that the bass drum is felt and not heard, and I'll go over why a little bit later. But I just want you to hear this bass drum and snare on 2 and 4, the bass drum on quarter notes with the ride cymbal, so you can hear this. In the big band era, you're going to hear this groove played a lot. Benny Goodman, Duke Ellington, and a lot of the great masters of the big band era. So there you might have noticed that I was playing off the bass drum in a different way than like a rock drummer would. It was, you could hear it, but it had a way less sound to it. And the reason is I'm using my toes to create a tap stroke, if you will. Why that's important is because jazz is largely an acoustic music. So I'm playing with a bass player who oftentimes is an acoustic bass player. So if I'm playing really loud, I'm going to be covering up the notes that the bass player is playing with. So the rhythm section, the drums, the bass player, and the pianist, I want to be able to provide the rhythm, but I also need to play it in a way where I can allow for the other instruments to be heard. So if it's too loud, covering up the tones of the other band members. So that's why I'm playing softer. So now let's do that with the click track with the bass drum, snare, and ride. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And now let's hear that in context with the loop so you can hear this in a musical setting. All right, so number 2 is I'm going to be playing the same groove, but I'm going to add 2 and 4 in the hi-hat to give that syncopated feel that we were talking about that gives jazz its unique quality. I'll play an example for you. Another thing that's really important with hi-hat technique is that there are 2 different ways that drummers typically play the hi-hat pattern. Jazz drummers play the hi-hat pattern. I can play heel down, which gives a laid-back legato or relaxed quality to the feel. You can hear it's pretty relaxed. Or I can play what's called a heel down technique, which has a sharper, more direct tone. And what I'm doing is my heel is striking beat 1 and 3, and my toes are stomping on beats 2 and 4. And I'm getting a really sharp tone that my hi-hat's creating. The way that I would use these 2 different techniques is if I was playing in a band, let's say the bass player was rushing, I would want to hold back on the beat, and I would want this feel. If I needed to be a little bit more on top of the beat, I'm going to use this feel. So I'm going to play the same example again with a heel down technique so you can hear the difference. One important thing about the heel down technique is you're really seeing me stomp my heel right here on beats 1 and 3. So the bass player that I'm going to be playing with is going to be really feeling my time on a strong way. So both hi-hat techniques are going to be important, but you don't have to play both right now. In fact, I would recommend maybe starting with just the heel down. So now let's play this with a click so you can hear it in musical context. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now let's put that with the loop again so you can hear that in a musical context. All right, so now for example 3, I'm going to be replacing the snare drum with the cross stick. And this is actually a really important part of jazz. One of the great pillars of this art form, Philly Joe Jones, made this really common in his playing, so be sure to check that out. And I'm going to be playing the cross stick in 2 and 4. Now let's put that with a click so you can hear that in time. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And now let's add music so you can hear this groove in a musical context. All right, guys, so number 4, I'm going to be playing the same groove, but on the snare drum, on the cross stick, I'm just going to do beat 4. And you're going to hear this a lot in the big band era, as well as one of the great pillars in the bebop language, Philly Joe Jones. A really good record to reference is Miles Davis Milestones and the track Milestones. And the cross stick on beat 4 gives a nice gravity to the groove. I'm going to be doing this now without the bass drum because while it's really important to have that bass drum sound, it gives a nice bottom end to the overall groove of what I'm doing. I can also leave it out sometimes as that's what's needed musically. So right now I'm going to play my ride cymbal pattern, 2 and 4 my hi-hat, and then a cross stick on beat 4. Now let's hear that with a click so you can hear that in time. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And now let's put that with the loop so you can hear that in musical context. All right, guys, so let's look at number 5 together. And this one, you're going to see that the hi-hat is going to be playing the right cymbal pattern, and then the cross stick is going to be on beat 4. So this is another example where I can take the jazz language and apply it to different parts of the drums to orchestrate when I need to play this pattern in a different musical situation, such as a bass solo, a piano solo, or something where I need to change my texture. So let me play this for you right now with the hi-hat and then the cross stick on beat 4. Now let's put that with a click so you can hear it in time. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now let's put that to some music so we can hear that in a musical context. All right, guys, so I want you to practice each of these grooves in all the different ways that we worked on, and then you can see that these are going to work in different musical situations. Once you've practiced this and you've mastered them, go ahead and move on to the next part.